Welcome back to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but first, let's hear from our podcast sponsors. We want to thank Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. You can learn more about what Hometown Ticketing can do for you by going to hometownticketing.com. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. We want to thank Violet Defense for their support of the podcast. Violet Defense is dedicated to protecting our world from germs by bringing the power of UV disinfection to everyday spaces. Their patented technology enables them to harness the power of the sun to incorporate ultraviolet light into their products and your environments like never before. Whether you're ready to implement some of their existing products, or if you'd like to explore researching and developing a custom deployment of their technology for your school, Violet Defense has the solutions and the experience you need. Go to violetdefense.com for more information about their great products. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive for their support. You know, it's becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department these days, but Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year, while also creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call them at 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo and see their tables and boards in action. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com for more information. You've heard me say that we have a Sideline Interactive indoor scoring table in our gym, and it is just fantastic. Once again, email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. I promise you, you will be very impressed. We also want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. You know, they are on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They provide a variety of interactive touchscreen video consoles, along with an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. For ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history, along with your proudest moments, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com, or to learn more and get started with your own digital Wall of Fame tribute, call 614-981-3589, or you can email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank Huddle for their support. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. Over 180,000 teams, including some of the best in the world, use Huddle to elevate the performance of their teams using video and analytics. Huddle's the complete performance platform. They have online tools, mobile and desktop apps, smart cameras like the Huddle Focus. Of course, there's analytics and a whole lot more. Huddle's also built for every level of play, from club and youth teams up through high schools and colleges, and even professional programs are using Huddle to help their athletes play better. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including your student athletes, a lot of their parents, and the coaches of the college and university teams that you're trying to get to recruit your kids. If you want to find out more about what Huddle can do for you and your program, or how your school can become a Huddle school, go to huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. We also want to thank Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment of our podcast. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your athletic department. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack also puts you in touch with the 95% of the parents and the student athletes who really love your program, and it gives them a voice to help demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials, and then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466, or you can email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. If you've never used a survey to check the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Go to Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack and let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest today is Chase Deal. Chase is a registered athletic administrator, and he currently has a couple of things going. His primary position, he works for the NCAA office in Indianapolis, and he's a core certification case processor. We're going to give him a chance to tell us what that involves. But he's also involved with athletic administration. He's an athletic assistant with Indianapolis Cathedral High School. Again, obviously they're in Indianapolis, and we're going to hear about that. But Chase, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate you having me. As an avid listener, it's truly an honor. So I appreciate you having me on.
Oh no, I remember, you reached out to me a while back, and you were just kind of downplaying yourself, saying I'm not a full-time AD, but I said, well, hey, let's have you share your story anyway. It's important to hear from people on all points of their journey, whether they're just starting out or, knocking on those first couple jobs, or, a 30, 40-year veteran. So we're glad to have you. Well, as you know, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that 5-minute bio, where you were born, where you grew up, and how your path so far has brought you to the NCAA and to Indianapolis Cathedral.
Absolutely. So I grew up in northern Indiana by South Bend, Mishawaka, Indiana, actually. Same place as Dan Schuster from the NFHS, who you had on. I know the Schuster family very well, great people. So I also went to Mishawaka High School, just as Dan did, home of the cavemen. Throughout there, I had always just loved playing, watching, and just being around sports ever since I was younger. I wrestled from first grade all the way through my senior year of high school. I also played football from fourth grade all the way through my senior year as well. After I graduated from Mishawaka, I decided to attend Ball State University, where I majored in sport administration with a minor in marketing. At Ball State, I was very involved with my major and Ball State athletics. Freshman year, I did a lot of volunteer work with Ball State athletics, doing various events. And then actually my sophomore year, I was fortunate enough to be elected onto the executive board for the Sport Administrators Association, which essentially I went from being the volunteer to one of the folks in charge of the volunteers and making sure we had our numbers where we needed to be, and even having to step back in that role from time to time when needed. And then that's kind of what led me towards the later part of my college career at Ball State. My junior and senior year of college, I actually coached middle school wrestling there in Muncie, which is something I really enjoyed, and pretty much assured me that I wanted to work in sports in some facet, even if it wouldn't necessarily involve the teaching and coaching route, shall I say. But it was a great experience, really eye-opening, be able to take my years as a youth wrestler and all the knowledge I gained and be able to give back was just a great experience. Then I'd say it was the summer after my junior year, I was given the opportunity to intern with USA Football here in Indianapolis as a sales and customer service intern within the NFL flag department. The experience was great, absolutely amazing. I love just working in such a sports-focused environment. However, it did make me realize that I didn't necessarily want a career in sales, but I was going the right direction. I knew I wanted to work in sports, and that experience was absolutely unreal. I'm very fortunate to have had that. That kind of led me to like my senior year. I was able to develop a more honed in, better focus of where exactly in sports I wanted to work. I was just given the pros and cons, looking at different factors. And I just realized that I wanted to either pursue a career in events, either collegiate or professional level, or even go on the route of becoming an AD, getting involved in the high school side. Um, that being said, though, I did not realize how difficult that would be by any means. So having to pay those student loans, I ended up accepting a job after graduation as a recruiter. And I began the process at that time of getting my RAA certification. Actually, about 5 months, 5 months at the agency, they decided to downsize, and I was fortunately let go, but it ended up being a blessing in disguise. I was really able to kind of focus my time, my efforts toward my certification, while also door dashing on the side to help pay those bills. During that time, I think I emailed about over 100 different schools in the surrounding Indianapolis area, just letting them know where I was in my story, my path, kind of what I was aiming for, and just letting them know that I wanted to get involved in any way, shape, or form that I could. And then it did work out in my favor. I was able to get in with Brebeuf Jesuit. It's a college preparatory school here in Indianapolis as an athletics intern. I was able to help them out with various events throughout that entire school year, and then also compete my RA certification in May of 2020. And then that kind of is what took me to last school year. So I was at Brebeuf 2 years ago, and then last school year, I was able to land another great opportunity with a very prestigious athletic program, as you had mentioned, Jake, Indianapolis Cathedral, where I became the athletics assistant, very similar to my role at Brebeuf, just a little bit more involved there. And I'm also currently in year 2 of that role. I have a wide variety of responsibilities, includes pre-event setup, post-event teardown, digital ticketing, crowd control, game day graphics, escorting officials, even shadowing the admin side of things. Also have helped host sectional, regional, semi-state events in almost, I believe, majority of our sports. And pretty much anything else, I've always told both our AD and our assistant AD, I want to do anything I can to make your lives easier. So that's been my mantra. I'm always happy to help, whatever they need. I'm always happy to do it. And then just most recently, I kind of started realizing, well, hey, the door dashing and working Cathedral is going great, but it was putting one heck of a toll on my car. So I decided to see what other options were available when I wasn't at Cathedral. And as you mentioned, I was very fortunate enough about a month ago, I accepted the job with the NCAA in the Eligibility Center as a core certification case processor. And in that role there, I process transcripts of high school athletes to see if they're eligible to compete in college.
Wow. Definitely got your plate full on that. You brought up so many very important points. As an undergraduate student, working as a volunteer and then doing a good enough job to where you became the supervisor of those volunteers in setup and breakdown. Those are just such critical experiences that you can't learn those in a class or out of a book. You really have to live it. You also talked about those side hustle jobs as you're getting going. I remember, a couple of years out of college myself, a young teacher, trying to pay the bills. I actually worked at a mill during the summer. It reinforced why I went to college. I didn't want to do that, but very, very cool stuff. And again, always keeping your eye out for that opportunity, getting that position at Indianapolis Cathedral in their athletic department. Again, more experience, hands-on stuff, and probably doing a little bit of networking, with the ADs, the coaches that come through the doors there at Indianapolis Cathedral. Very cool stuff. For our listeners, we're visiting with Chase Deal. He's a registered athletic administrator. He's also a core certification case processor with the NCAA in Indianapolis. We're going to hear a little bit more after our break. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank Huddle for their support of the Educational AD Podcast. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. More than 180,000 teams, including some of the best in the world. use Huddle to help their teams and athletes play better. Huddle's the complete performance platform. They have online tools, mobile and desktop apps, smart cameras like the Huddle Focus. Of course, there's analytics and a whole lot more. Huddle's also built for every level of play. If you're a club or a youth coach, Huddle can help you. And high schools and colleges have been using Huddle for years, and even professional programs are using Huddle to help their athletes play at the highest level. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including your student athletes, a lot of their parents, and the coaches of the college teams you're trying to get your kids recruited to. If you want to find out more about what Huddle can do for you and your program and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. We're back visiting with Chase Deal. He's a registered athletic administrator, and he is a core certification case processor with the NCAA. Chase, we always like to ask our guests who their mentors are, who kind of help them along the way. And as we mentioned, you're certainly at the beginning of your career, but I'm going to guess there's a couple of people that you might want to give a shout out to that have helped you to this point so far. So who are some of the people that have been important in your career?
So first, I would say, I was extremely fortunate throughout my entire time in high school to have two of the best coaches to ever come through Mishawaka High School, probably the state of Indiana in their respective sports. First would be Coach Derek Snyder, my wrestling coach, and second is Mark Curtis for football. They taught me many life skills, and then also just about the process of hard work and that no one's ever gonna hand you things in life, and if you ever want something, you really gotta work for it. Another person would definitely be my mother. She is definitely someone I consider to be a mentor, especially after losing my father in 2007. She was just a great example of pushing through tough times and just doing the things that are difficult yet necessary. So that's something I've always felt like I kind of took with me after watching her go through that and persevere when things got a little rocky. Lastly, I would say both the AD at Cathedral, Mr. Rick Strife, and assistant AD Jason Delaney are both two very influential mentors of mine. Rick, being the former football coach, he actually holds the Indiana state record for most football state titles with 10.
Oh, wow.
He probably doesn't want me giving him too much of a shout out. He's a very humble man. And then Jason is one of the top basketball coaches in the entire country. He's put over 15 different former players in the NBA at some point. They both know how to win, but more importantly, they know how to develop great student athletes. It's not really something you see a whole lot of, is that development aspect. And they're big on the student athlete part, being a student first and then taking care of business in the gym or on the field later. Just when I'm around them, I try to be a sponge, just retain as much wisdom as I can. Every time I step in that building, I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity not just be there, but to be around such two influential gentlemen.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing, and I love the developmental part. I would always try to share with my coaches, anybody can coach an all-star team. I can do it. Okay. But to develop your kids year after year after year and have that homegrown talent, that's real coaching. Great stuff. Let's go and dive into what you do with the NCAA. Again, we know, that, your goal is kind of to become an athletic director, but right now, you are a core, I want to say this right, core certification case processor. So what is that? And why is it important for high school coaches, high school ADs to know about that core certification process?
Absolutely. So core certification is a department within the eligibility center. So I work in what we call domestic. Domestic handles all of the United States and then all of Canada for academics. So we have academics and amateurism. I focus on the academics. So essentially in my role, I will get a student athlete's profile in front of me. I will have their transcripts and I will go through those transcripts and enter the core courses that they have to take to be eligible, either D1, D2, or D3, enter them into our system. Essentially, our system then will recognize whether or not they're eligible or different deficiencies that they need to address to become eligible. I think it's a very important job. I mean, my superior always likes to say, behind every 10-digit ID number, there's a story, and that's so true. I mean, it's not just like another case for processing. Every one of these student athletes, prospective student athletes, this is their opportunity. This is their chance to really make a change, not even for themselves, but their family a lot of the time. So take our work very seriously. It's definitely, from speaking to other ADs on LinkedIn, it's something that is very, I see, valuable. A lot of people want to know, okay, what should we be meeting with our guidance counselors about? What kind of standards they need? We do send out a lot of informational packets to the schools that break all that down. It's also on our website as well. So the guidance counselors, the ADs, the principals, everyone's kind of on the same page for really making sure those student athletes that want to play at the next level have the opportunity to do so if they may.
Yeah, I appreciate you pointing out the NCAA website, and I'm going to guess that there's some FAQs and people to reach out to. But for our listeners, if one of them wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit about that process, is it all right if they send you an email?
Oh, absolutely. So my email is cdeal@ncaa.org.
Well, that's pretty easy. cdeal@ncaa.org. Very cool stuff. For our listeners, we're visiting with Chase Deal. He's a registered athletic administrator. As we just shared, he's a core certification course processor with the NCAA, and he's also an athletic assistant at Indianapolis Cathedral High School. We're going to hear a little bit about that when we come back from our next break. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive for their support of the Educational AD Podcast. You know, it's becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department these days, but Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year, while also creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your athletes. We've got a Sideline Interactive score table like the one you see now, if you're watching this on YouTube, in our gymnasium, and it's fantastic. It's so versatile. We use it for games, but we also use it for pep rallies. We use it for signing ceremonies. You really need to check it out. Go to sidelineinteractive.com, or you can call them at 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo and see their tables and their boards in action. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. I promise you, you will be very impressed. Welcome back to our interview with Chase Deal, registered athletic administrator. Chase, as we've said, you know, you're starting out your career, you know, you're at the front end compared to me, you know, at the tail end and retired. But I'm going to bet in your time at Indianapolis Cathedral and your internship at another high school, and even back to your own high school days, you probably witnessed what we like to call best practices. So what are some things that you've seen that you can share with our listeners that in looking ahead, these are things that, you know, you're going to be utilizing when you become an AD at your own school? Do you have anything you can share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say coming from Cathedral, one thing I've noticed is our coaches, they do a phenomenal job of communicating with their student athletes, but also building positive relationships with their teams. For example, our football team, they have a saying, it's not a good day, but a great day. Always just trying to find that positive spin on things. I feel like you can never go wrong with that. And the student athletes tend to respond a lot better to the positive coaching rather than when the negatives are addressed. So I feel like that's very influential in the success that we have had. Another thing I would say is just both when I was in high school at Mishawaka and at Cathedral, having coaches that are in the building, whether they're teachers or administrators, it's so huge and it goes a long way. Don't get me wrong, we have a lot of great assistant coaches that work outside, but for the most part, that chemistry, student athletes be able to come to them during the day, see that face, just being present. It just works out a lot better. And then last thing I would say was just the communication and the involvement that our ADs have with staff members that are not coaches. Really just making them always feel important, just giving them all the information about all the events. And then in return, I mean, we have so many great high quality volunteers that are teachers or other employees throughout the schools that aren't even coaching, but just that relationship has just went so well, and they seem to be enjoying when they do help out, and we appreciate them more than I'm sure they know.
Yeah, again, you hit on a couple of key things. Most ADs, if you ask them, they would probably say they would love to have all their coaches in the building. But the reality is we're going to have those walk-on coaches or community coaches, whatever you want to call them, that are so very important to a program, both big and small schools. And then again, you gave a shout out to the volunteers, making them feel like they're a part of the team, because those roles are so important. They're so critical, that if that volunteer is not there that night, well, guess what? You or me, we're the ones doing that job. So very, very cool stuff. Okay. Once again, we're visiting with Chase Deal. He's a registered athletic administrator. He's an athletics assistant at Indianapolis Cathedral High School in Indianapolis, Indiana. Also works with the NCAA. We're going to be back with some more. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thanks to Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. They are on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They provide a variety of interactive, touchscreen video consoles and an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. For ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history along with your proudest moments, visit vitalsignswalloffame.com. Or to learn more and get started with your own digital Wall of Fame tribute, give them a call at 614-981-3589, or you can email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. Give them a call today. Hey, we're back with Chase Deal, registered athletic administrator and core certification case processor for the NCAA. Chase, one of the questions we've been asking our guests, it relates to this idea of toughness. Toughness is, certainly an important aspect of the athletic experience and certainly for life. And I remember 100 years ago when I was in school, it was very common, for my coaches to say, come on, Jake, you got to be tough, or come on, Jake, you got to suck it up. I think we've learned since then, there might be better ways to do that. So my question for you is, how can an athletic director or a coach help a kid to be tough while also being aware of and sensitive to the very real social emotional challenges that a Generation Z kid is experiencing? Do you have any advice for us?
That is a great question, Jake. Definitely think it's something that needs to be talked about more. I guess I'll start with just the concept of being quote unquote sensitive, where I think there needs to be more of a refocus in the narrative of being empathetic. We can coach kids to be tough, quote unquote tough, in certain situations, like dealing with adversity and pushing through when things get difficult. That to me is being tough. But the great part about that, Jake, is none of that stops you from being empathetic towards others and their trials and tribulations, and showing your student athletes, hey, there's always somebody that's going through something. You never know. I mean, they always give that saying, like when you're on a bus. I mean, there's all this chaos going around you, but you have no idea what those people are going through. I mean, and I feel like if you can teach our student athletes that at a young age, that's going to carry them throughout life with nothing but a positive direction.
Yeah, very great words of wisdom from someone again, who's just starting out their career. It's that old cliche that I remember hearing years ago as a younger coach. They don't care what you know until they know how much you care, and it's a cliche because it's true. And I love the way that you talked about coaching kids to be tough and meet those challenges while having an equal dose of empathy for whatever situation, whatever challenges they may be experiencing. Very, very cool stuff. Okay. Chase, this has been really neat to hear a little bit about you. And again, we've connected a while back on LinkedIn. And as we established at the start, you're a friend of the show, but we're not done yet. We always like to wrap up with what we call the athletic director's toolbox. And we're going to hear from our toolbox sponsor, Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. But when we come back, I'm going to ask you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job. And I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. So stick with us. We're going to hear from Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack, and then we're going to find out what Chase Deal is going to put in his athletic director's toolbox. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We really want to say thank you to Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. Athletic surveys are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire program. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack also puts you in touch with the 95% of the parents and the student athletes who really love your program. And it gives them an opportunity to share the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials, and then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466, or you can email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Go to Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack and let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. All right, we're back with Chase Deal, registered athletic administrator. Chase, you shared your athletic experience with us and our listeners, but right now I'm challenging you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. What 3 items are going to go in Chase Deal's athletic director toolbox?
So let's think. First and foremost, I would say just being present. Just being around the student athletes, whether it's going to a practice or even games. And then when you are present, just I feel like this is something you should do even when no one else is looking, but especially when all eyes are on you. Just doing the little things, picking up that piece of trash, doing all the little things that you ask of both your staff and the standard you set for your student athletes. Secondly, I would say taking care of your support staff. That goes a long way. Giving out free swag to the janitors or anybody else that helps make your program run successfully. I mean, it's phenomenal to see the reaction when you give somebody a water bottle. And then that just keeps building. Those people want to come back. They spread it through word of mouth, and you have more great volunteers and people that help out. So yeah, take care of your support staff would be number 2. 3, I think it's very vital to find balance in everything you do. I think you'll be a better AD because of it when you have that work-life balance. I mean, even if it's something as simple as finding 30 minutes a day to go exercise or go on a walk and just get away. I feel like burnout is becoming more and more of the norm, shall I say. So finding that balance, I really feel like is vital, especially if you're somebody younger like me that wants to be in the game for a very long time. I know that I got to take care of up here, got to take care of my body. And if I want to make, because it does take a toll, it's a lot of work. And I feel like that balance isn't often spoken about. And Jake, I am going to sneak one more in here on you. It kind of coincides that last one, but just prioritizing your health, both mental and physical. Just putting good things in your body, drinking lots of water, exercising, and it all translates over the student athletes and how you run your program. When you're feeling good, you're feeling sharp, things are going to go better. You're going to make better decisions all around. So, kind of a little recap, I'll say be present, do the little things when being present, take care of your support staff, find that balance, and prioritize your health.
Very, very good stuff. And I love the part at the end, you added one about, putting the right kind of fuel into your machine. We used to tell our athletes and our coaches, you're not some, broken down clunker, you're a finely tuned Formula One car, and you're going to put that good fuel inside. Very neat stuff. I know we did this earlier, but if one of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain a little bit about the NCAA or about anything, what's the best way that they can get in touch with you?
Yep. So I'm going to give you my NCAA email, the cdeal@ncaa.org. That's cdeal@ncaa.org. And then I'll also throw out my personal email, which is my first name, Chase, last name, Deal, 2019@gmail.com. Or you can even add me on LinkedIn, shoot me a quick DM if that's easier.
Absolutely. Chase Deal, thanks so much for being on the podcast today.
I appreciate it, Jake. Thanks so much for having me. It's a great thing that you're doing out here. And myself and ADs all around the country and even some other countries were really benefiting. So thank you, Jake.
Oh, gosh. Thank you so much. I enjoy it. And as I've always said, as long as people keep listening, I'm going to keep doing them. Okay. Good luck as the basketball season winds down and recruiting season amps up. I'm sure you're going to be busy with your core certification processing.
Sir.
For our listeners, remember the Zoom recordings of these interviews are uploaded to the Educational Athletic Director YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening today. Come back again next time for another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. And of course, we want to thank Hometown Ticketing for their support of the podcast. Hometown Ticketing is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. You can learn more at hometownticketing.com. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing.